The summer of 2020 was a very tumultuous period for America. There was a incredible amount of protests that took place during that summer surrounding the issue of police brutality. Now, what I have in front of me is an article that talks about how a man that was basically doing property damage during the protest was recently exposed as a white supremacist. So I'm just going to read you a couple details of the article so you can understand the situation. You may have seen the video. They went viral on social media of him smashing windows and whatnot. But I want to talk about something that I believe is very important that doesn't get talked about a lot that surrounds this entire issue. But first, let me just give you a little bit of the article so you can make a little bit of sense out of this entire thing. So, a masked umbrella-wielding man accused of helping incite riots and looting in the aftermath of George Floyd's police-involved death has been identified as a member of a white supremacist group that aimed to stir racial tensions amid largely peaceful Black Lives Matter protests, according to police. The 32-year-old dubbed Umbrella Man was captured in a viral video back in May wearing a black hooded outfit and a black gas mask as he smashed store windows with a sledgehammer and encouraged people to steal, according to a search warrant affidavit filed in court this week. His actions quickly led to the first of several arson fires that police say transformed peaceful protests into local danger zones. The affidavit said he also accused of spray painting the words "free shit for everyone" zone on the doors of an AutoZone before he allegedly smashed in the windows the store was broken into and set on fire shortly after. This was the first fire that set off a string of fires and looting throughout the precinct and the rest of the city. Erica Christensen, a Minneapolis Police Department arson investigator, wrote in a search warrant. Until the actions of Umbrella Man, the protests had been relatively peaceful. And the article goes on to say that the investigator said the suspect is associated with the Aryan Cowboys, I believe is how you say that, which the warrant describes as a known prison gang out of Minnesota and Kentucky. The Anti-Defamation League lists the Aryan Cowboys as a white supremacist prison and street gang, although the group's Facebook page claims it doesn't care about a person's color. Now, I wanted to talk about this because the reaction that this got on social media, it blew up a little bit. And of course, you had the people, I guess, on the Black Lives Matter side that would say, well, of course, here you go. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, because look, we got reports that I can't remember the exact number, but it's like 94, 95, might even be 96%. I'm not sure what the exact number was. It might even be more than that. But the overwhelming majority of the protests that took place during the summer of 2020 were peaceful. They were. And the violence that was caused wasn't even all by people that were, quote unquote, for the Black Lives Matter movement, the people that were protesting for the purpose of stopping police brutality. There were some bad actors in there, obviously, this guy and many others, I suppose. But the issue that I want to speak on is, cause and effect in a sense. So, first of all, the issue of property damage during protests, because when you protests turn into riots a lot of times, right? If they get large enough, right? Well, I think that we can all agree that unnecessary property damage during a protest that's turned into a riot is bad and it shouldn't happen. If something happens and you want to go out and exercise your right to protest, you shouldn't smash the windows of some small business owner that had no business, that had nothing to do with the situation that happened. You shouldn't, spray paint people's cars or whatever else went on during those times. But my biggest gripe with this whole thing is that the media did an awful job of covering these protests, and they really just blew up the violence that occurred and never once cited the fact that the protests were overwhelmingly peaceful, and they never showed the response from the police to the protests, the peaceful protests at that. And a lot of their actions were even worse than the quote unquote violence that you saw from the protesters. But that gets into what I want to speak about in this video. Why is the response to the catalyst, the thing, the straw that broke the camel's back, always focused on more so than what caused the reaction? Because the thing that we have to realize and understand is, and it's just a fact, protests are a reaction. They are. People don't protest for no reason. There's always a reason behind it. And I think it's incredibly important to discern and figure out what those reasons are. Why are these people in the street with signs yelling about? What's the purpose? What happened? Okay, well, in the case of summer 2020, there were a few cases, but the most obvious case was the issue of George Floyd. George Floyd was murdered by police officers, and people got upset. They took to the street. They reacted to what had happened, and you got what you got. But in the eyes of the media and many of my fellow Americans, they like to focus more so on the reaction than what caused the reaction. Okay, if you want to get mad and chastise people for breaking windows and messing with people's cars and just fiddling with property overall that had nothing to do with the situation, fine. I agree with you. I genuinely do. But I don't think that should be the main course of action, because when you do that, not only do you not solve the problem, but you incentivize the problem to continue to occur. Because the people that are reacting, that are coming out and protesting and asking for this stuff to stop, that's how you actually get it to stop. It is. That's how you change things in any given society. You protest. You demand change. You do peaceful civil disobedience. And that's a lot of what occurred over the last summer. But if you notice, we got no kind of changes whatsoever out of everything that happened in the summer of 2020. In fact, right after it happened, they voted to give billions of dollars to, I'm referencing to Congress here and our, leaders around the country, even at the local levels, right, and state levels. They continued to vote to give billions and millions of dollars to police budgets around the country, arming them even more and giving them even more resources to commit the kinds of atrocities that the populace were asking them to stop. It's absolutely insane, right? So when you focus on the reaction so much and what people's responses are, whether it be good or bad, you're not actually getting at the problem. You won't even begin to get at the problem, which is an institutional problem. It's a systematic problem, by getting upset at the people that decide to take to the streets. It seems so obvious in my mind, but I guess to other people, their vision is maybe a little bit hazy and they might need things explained to them in a separate way so that they may understand it. Some people might not even see a problem with the fact that, some unarmed minority was killed by a police officer when it could have obviously been avoided. But I say all that to say that hopefully in the future, we can have these sorts of conversations and they aren't as volatile and we can find common ground. I do see light at the end of the tunnel. I have no idea when these problems are going to even begin to be fixed, because so far that hasn't happened in any sense. We got a bunch of, they love to play the game of, oh, we'll take down this statue or we'll change the name of this brand, but they won't do anything actually anything actually substantial to make amends to, the atrocities that have been committed to actually change society. But hopefully in the future, we will see positive change, and hopefully it will come to us sooner, much rather than later, because we all know that some of these issues simply can't wait very much longer. And I have to say, I do think that as a country, as a nation, we've come very, very far, very far. But that's also to say in the same breath that we have much further to go. And I guess we just have to take it one step at a time until we finally get there.